Hello, everyone, and welcome to my true crime podcast, where we talk about crimes that have happened around the same time in different dates in history, crime of the time. Now, this is a microphone. Sorry if I'm holding it weird, or if it's awkward, or if it's bothering you, or if it's in the way. I'm just trying to get the audio to sound a little better. For myself and anyone who possibly watches this. And also, you might not recognize me because I do not have a red wig on today. I just have my natural hair. So we are going to talk about a crime that had happened December 20th, which will be tomorrow. Today is the 19th, and it's going to be from the year 1968. Now, again, this week we are going to be talking about another well-known case. I swear to you, these cases have been very hard to find in the month of December. I don't know why. It's because they all just waited for Christmas to be the most evil fucks that they could be. So in early December, it was pretty hard to find cases. So that's why, just these bigger ones are coming up. Because I guess 'tis the season. I don't know. They took a break in the early months of December. That's not funny. This is serious, but just wanted to let you know. It's kind of weird. 2 giant cases in a row. But if you haven't heard of the Zodiac Killer is one of America's greatest unsolved mysteries because he was never caught. He is nameless and he is faceless, and no one really knows for sure if all the murders were from him. No one really knows for sure if he's still murdering to this day as an old man. And yeah, nobody knows anything for sure. So speaking on that fact, there's speculated 37 victims that he claims he killed, but again, nobody knows for sure. This is the first kill that happened on December 20th, 1968. The speculated third kill because investigators wanted to link other crimes to it. The Zodiac Killer probably fit really well, but this was the first kill that he actually admitted to. So it happened in Benicia, California, and the 2 first official victims were Betty Lou Jensen, who was 16, and David Faraday, who was 17. And it was their first official date. Sources say that they were sneaking around before this, but this was their first official date. It was 5 nights before Christmas, and it was the high schoolers' last day of school before Christmas break, so it's so heartbreaking because I remember that time. Everyone was just so happy and over the moon to just be off from school for 1 to 2 weeks, so I'm sure they were super excited. They were planning on going to a party that night, and David introduced himself to Betty's parents when he picked her up and said that he would have her home by 11 p.m. But sadly, neither of them ever returned home, which is terrible and devastating. I hate how they have to do this around Christmas time. I can't imagine what Christmas was like for their families. But anyway, let's talk a little bit more about Betty. Betty was born on July 22nd, 1952, and she was born in Colorado. She was a junior at Hogan High School and an honor student. She was a member of the Christian Science Church and belonged to a group called the Sunshine Girls. I'm assuming this is kind of like a Girl Scout troop, because their mission was to just make the world a better place, just cutesy, fun stuff like that. So I'm sure that described her personality. It said she was popular in school. She had many friends. She had boys fighting over her. She was a talented artist, and she had a sister, Miclody. I don't know how to say her name, but she advised her not to date so young. But Betty followed her heart to be with David. Her parents were Virginia Blenderman and Vern Jensen. David was born on October 2nd, so his birthday had just passed, sadly, 1951, and he was born in California. His parents were Jean Terosa and Thomas Faraday. He was a senior at Vallejo High School, so they went to different schools, and he was active in school government, he was on the wrestling team, and he was an Eagle Scout. He was a member of the Presbyterian Church. He had 2 brothers and a sister, and he had good character, it seems like. It was said that he confronted a marijuana dealer at school, and he threatened to call the cops, and there was a little bit of a rift that went on, but I mean, good intentions, that's good, that's great. Nobody likes a drug dealer. It seemed to be love at first sight when he met Betty. They met at a church function that they were both on the committee of, and David cut classes just to spend time with her. He drove her home from school every day, and as I mentioned, a lot of boys were fighting over Betty, so he actually fought off another one of the young men that wanted her heart, and he argued with him, and David was confident that he was going to date her, and he did end up taking her on that date that night. Sadly, they couldn't go on any other dates, but it seems like they did have a good time while it lasted, so I'm happy that at least they had that before such a terrible tragedy happened. So, as I mentioned earlier, they were planning to attend a party that night, and they were supposed to go with a group of friends, but for some reason they decided to go alone, and they ended up traveling to Lake Herman Road, and they were parked at a lover's lane spot, and we know this because the drivers in the area that ended up finding the car and finding the terrible scene, they noticed an empty car with the passenger side door open. There was a bullet in the roof and in the back window. David's body was on the ground in the passenger side with 1 bullet in his skull behind his ear that entered his brain, sadly. Betty was found further away. It was assumed that she tried to run away. She was shot 4 times in her back, and Betty died immediately. But David was actually still breathing when the officers arrived, but he was unresponsive and died on his way to the hospital, which is so sad. Another sad fact that I thought when I was reading this, because he was on the passenger side and she was found running, it seems like he was possibly trying to protect Betty and took a bullet for her and, just tried to be a good guy in his final moments and give her a chance to run away, but unfortunately it didn't buy enough time and they were both shot dead. So there were shell casings found at the scene. The weapon used was a .22 caliber semi-automatic pistol. Why is it so hard to say caliber? I said it good though. There was no evidence of robbery or sexual molestation, and there was no eyewitnesses at the time, only the people that found the car abandoned. Before it was known to be the Zodiac killer, they thought maybe it was drug related. Like I mentioned earlier, he did confront that drug dealer and make threats to the cops. So I'm assuming when they were conducting their investigation, somebody mentioned that to police. So they had thought that maybe it was drug related. But the Zodiac killer did take credit for it, and I will explain how he did that. So he taunted the police for years. He wrote letters to police, confessing, saying details that only the killer would know, the killer and the police. In these letters, he would have encrypted codes, he would have threats, and confessions. He was very full of himself. He was very cocky. A quote from him is that the police shall never catch me because I have been too clever for them. He promised the police that his identity would be revealed in a complex cipher puzzle that he had sent in one of the letters, only if they would publish his letters, because he wanted attention. He wanted to be in the media, he wanted to be talked about, he wanted to be in newspapers. So he promised them, okay, I will send you a code that you can decipher and it'll reveal my identity only if you post all about me in the newspapers. So they did. They complied with him because they wanted to get him caught, but as you could guess, it did not reveal his identity, and that's why we still don't know who the hell this guy is. He would start his notes saying, "This is the Zodiac speaking," and he would address the names of different police officers and detectives and have these weird drawings and a lot of grammatical errors. I'm going to read you one of his notes that he wrote to the police, and I'll pop it up on the screen so you can see what I'm talking about, because these grammatical errors are funny, but I'll read it to you. He said, "Dear Melvin, this is the Zodiac speaking. I wish you a happy Christmas," and he misspelled Christmas with 2 S's. The one thing I ask of you is this: please help me. I cannot reach out for help because this thing in me won't let me. I am finding it extremely difficult to hold it in check. I am afraid. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's what he said because it didn't make any sense. I will lose control again and take my 9th and possibly 10th victim. Please help me. I'm drowning. At the moment, the children are safe from the bomb because it is so massive to dig in, and the trigger mechanism, I'm assuming, requires much work to get it adjusted just right. If I hold back too long from mine, I will lose all control of myself and set the bomb up. Please help me. I cannot no longer remain in control for much longer." I'm sorry. I wrote that I wrote that in green pen, so I couldn't see my writing very well, and this dude has a lot of grammatical errors and poorly structured sentences, so sorry if that sounded ridiculous. But that's what he wrote. And it makes me mad for so many reasons. Like, what do you mean you need help? Like, just turn yourself fucking in then. Why are you begging for help but then being a dick? Like, saying you're gonna give your identity away and then never doing it. Like, he's such a fucking idiot, this guy. And yes, I'm making fun of his grammatical errors because he killed people, so he's a terrible person, and it's ridiculous. He spelt victim victom and drowning drownding, so drowning. That's how he spelt it. Like, come on, are you in 4th grade? This is a very big clue, or not a clue at all, because it can point to him being uneducated, or it can point to him being super educated, that he's trying to throw the police off by pretending to not be educated. So, but yeah, like, why are you begging for help if you're just saying, haha, you'll never catch me right after that? Like, it's just so irritating. Like, this guy is such a jerk. Anyway, he would tell police what the victims were wearing in these letters, the type of ammo he used, so only details the killer and the police know. So that's how they know that this actually was the guy who did this. And a few days later, a high school teacher, Donald Hardin, and his wife, Betty, deciphered the code that he claimed would reveal his identity. And it did, in fact, not reveal his identity. It only said, "I like killing people because it is so much fun. It is more fun than killing wild game in the forest because man is the most dangerous animal of all." I do agree that man is the most dangerous animal of all, but I do not agree that you should be killing them. What is wrong with this guy? He needs mental help. End of my TED Talk. What also bothered me is how he said, like, men, like, killing men is the greatest challenge. Like, dude, these were teenagers. You killed teenagers. Like, are you serious? Like, what is wrong with you? Like, hurt someone your own age. Well, don't hurt anyone at all, but you know what I mean. Like, he's bragging about killing children. Like, how screwed up are you? Anyway, another disgusting tidbit of information is that he said that he was doing all this to collect slaves for the afterlife. I'm just not going to say anything about that. Personal theory, I think that he killed himself, and there are a few, like, hints to that. In the, like, last of his letters he sent, there were some weird quotes, like, that kind of hinted to that, but I just think that explains why he disappeared, and why he was so cocky, because he knew if they ever did get close, they'd catch him, but they'd catch him dead. So I think that is why he decided to end his own life, because he is too narcissistic to ever even have a tiny risk of getting caught. And I think he did have a death wish from the very start of this. I think he just didn't care about anything. He just wanted attention. He didn't have attention from people in his life. That's why he wanted attention from the police and to be posted in the media and all of that stuff. But most of the victims were shot. In few of the later crimes, they were sadly stabbed in more brutal, gruesome deaths. Very violent and disturbing. But it was mostly couples, which also tells me he's jealous of couples and he was single. But it's very sad to have to go... It's very sad that he went after couples. Like, people were just on dates, like, enjoying their date and enjoying their significant other, and it's just so heartbreaking and terrible. Now that I'm done talking about my theories that no one cares about, we are going to be talking about well-known theories on who this guy is. So apparently there was a documentary on Netflix. I never watched it. I never really try to get into mysteries because it annoys me and pisses me off that we don't know who this person is. Suspect mentioned in the Netflix documentary was Arthur Leigh Allen. He was an elementary school teacher who was fired for bringing a gun to school. Then he got a new job and he was fired for child molestation. So this guy, if he is the killer or not, is a dirtbag, but this is who they think it possibly is. There were these friends of Arthur's. Their last name was Seawater, and they claimed that he confessed to be the Zodiac killer to them when his health was declining. He also could have been sick. Either way, I think he's dead and he died. And oh my god, like Saw. That's literally the plot of Saw. Like, okay, anyway. He said that apparently these Seawater people said that he told them that he'd get sweaty palms when the police were mentioned. He'd jump every time he'd see a murder headline. And he'd just get so nervous and all this stuff, which I don't think makes sense because this dude's cocky. Like, he wanted attention. He wanted to be talked about. So why would he get sweaty palms about, like, dude, you asked for that. If it is him, that's why I don't really think that it is him. Again, unless he just said that to throw... No, he was confessing. So yeah, I don't think that's him because he wanted attention. So that doesn't make sense. What do I think? I think A, you have to be somewhat smart to be a teacher. So if that was his actual writing with all those grammatical mistakes, I don't think he'd be qualified to teach children how to spell if he cannot spell. And yeah, unless, again, he was faking it to throw them off. And yeah, it doesn't make sense, the whole anxious to the police when he was literally begging for them to talk about him. And also, since there was no evidence of molestation, it doesn't match up with this pedo, I think. Anyway, what do you guys think? What are your theories on the case? Do you think it's this Arthur guy? Do you think it's someone else? Do you think he's dead? Do you think he moved to Switzerland and he's still killing? What do you think? Did you watch the Netflix documentary? Was it any good? Why do people murder people around Christmas? Let me know your thoughts. I'm sorry for sharing with you this terrible story again, but I'm sure that you have heard of it before. Since Christmas is coming up, try to think about other people. I hope their family members, whoever is related to them and they're still alive, I send them love this Christmas, and I hope the Zodiac killer is dead and rotting in hell, whoever the hell he is. But yeah, stay safe. I've been talking too much. Stay safe, and thank you for watching, and I hope you have a great day. Bye.